afternoon, everybody. If you're in the UK and if you're somewhere else, greetings. Thanks for joining us. This is the BCS Digital Divide Specialist Group series of monthly webinars. I'm the chair of the specialist group. And the BCS is the charter body for IT professionals. Its mission is to make IT good for society. And our specialist group has been set up to address the issue of closing the digital divide, which is where we want to help to make sure that no one is being left digitally behind. And as part of that, we want to socialize this issue to as many people as possible, especially with the understanding that technology has a role to play to help to close this digital divide. And today we are very delighted to have a special guest. I will let Maria Xiao, who is the secretary of our specialist group, to do the introduction. So over to you, Maria.
Yes, hi everyone. Just like Freddie said, I'm the secretary of the Digital Divide Specialist Group at the BCS, and so today I'm very proud to introduce you to Elodie Draperi. I met Elodie a long time ago, actually, when she had just started her startup, GiveVision, and I remember being very impressed as to kind of how they were trying to use all these new technologies to help low vision or vision impaired people, and just kind of kept having news from her, and then just recently caught up again, and they've just made huge progress. I'm kind of very proud of everything that they've done. So Elodie is the CEO and co-founder of GiveVision. And among others, she was the recipient of the Innovate UK Women in Innovation Award in 2022. And I don't know if you know, but it's a very competitive award. That is every couple of years they do that, and so it's not an easy award to get. So that's a big validation. And she's been involved in a lot of different projects to design innovative services and products with high positive impact. Putting the end user at the heart of a project has been her main goal, and one of her strengths is to reach out to end users and involve them in the innovation process. From prototype to market, Elodie translated people's feedback into product requirements and improvements, built a pool of 4,000 testers, customers, and a pipeline of more than 40 international and local partners to develop product lines and implement while raising awareness about low vision. And so I think what GiveVision does is literally give vision to people who have low vision, and is not only a demonstration of tech for good, but also designing a tech for good product with inclusivity in mind. So anyhow, with no further ado, Elodie, please, you can start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Maria. It's a real pleasure to be here and to be talking about GiveVision and what we have been doing. When we met Maria, so almost, I don't know, 9 years ago, I think, we were very ambitious on how we can use new technologies and how we could help people with visual impairments. But at the time, to be fair, we had no clue on how to do that. So I wanted to share with you how, the different variables that we have been working on and we have been identifying over this journey to design what we have now, which is in inclusive, but, a low vision aid, a low vision wearable for people who are not totally blind, but who have still some remaining sight. So in order to do that, I will go through 3 main steps. And the first one, let me share my presentation. The main one is really about how we have started understanding the problems and the pain. So early days, when we had this idea, but we didn't really know how to help people with visual impairment. So we had 2 things. We knew the audience, and we knew that we wanted to use smart glasses. I don't know if some of you have already worked on smart glasses or this kind of wearables, if you do have this experience, please be welcome. You're welcome to share it on the chat. It would be interesting to know what you've been working on. But so when we started, we wanted to use the camera of smart glasses to translate visual into audio in real time. That was the initial idea. And we had a lot of assumptions. But when we had those ideas, we discussed it with a few people, but nothing major to really understand that it was a good fit. So we built a prototype. And with this prototype, we decided to showcase it and interview 100 people with visual impairment, as well as a few eye specialists. So this market research work really helped us to understand 3 main variables that we didn't know before. So the first one is about the spectrum of visual impairments, because there is a lot of confusion and stereotypes about sight loss. And I don't know if you know a lot about sight loss. So if you don't, you will, because I will just give you a little bit of facts about it. It's also very important to understand here that there are a lot of different sight conditions and there are a lot of different symptoms. And I don't know if some of you know what is on the left-hand side of this picture. If you do, hang on, can I see the chat? I'm not quite sure. But so here, I just wanted to show you the 4 main sight conditions that lead to blindness, which are the most common. It doesn't mean that they are the only one. There are more than hundreds of different sight conditions, but they are the most famous, the most common. So you have here the one which is the central vision loss, which is the age-related macular degeneration. So that will be very common after 60 years old. People will be diagnosed and then they will be slowly losing their vision. This doesn't have a cure. There is just an eye injection that can kind of slow down the progression of the disease for some of the form of the AMD. Then you have also diabetic retinopathy, which will be all about how you're losing different, patch of vision in your field of vision. And then you have the tunnel vision, which is the peripheral vision loss. So such as glaucoma or or RP, or we call it RP, retinitis pigmentosa. And then on the other one, I'm sure you know this much more because it's something that normally can be addressed. You have the surgery for it. It's the cataract, but in many situations, actually, you can't remove it. So we have been interviewing people that have so many different symptoms and sight conditions, and it was really important for us to understand that it was difficult to put them all in one box, but at the same time, they were all sharing one thing, which was the ability and the need to use magnification tools. So, when we started, we thought that audio was the main solution for people with visual impairment, but actually 90% of people that are considered as having a severe sight impairment do have still remaining vision, which they use on a daily basis. So this was very important to understand. But again, because you have, a visual impairment it means that you have limitation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have problems. You have problems because you have, the society around you is very visual, and then it's really difficult to access to that. So after understanding sight conditions and the symptoms and the limitations, we had to understand what else, what was around them, available to them, competitive products that would help them to, access this information. So the main learnings from that is that sadly, when you look at the market of low vision aids, we saw that, it hasn't really evolved, and most of the device are monofunction. So, you will have, for example, this big kind of computer to read. So it means that it's in one place, it's not something that is portable. People will have, something to maybe like a little magnifier to go around, but it's really much one tool, one function. And the problem with also this market is that compared to the one about hearing aids, we realized that there was no device that could really enhance the sight like hearing aids enhance the hearing functions. So it was another interesting finding. Again, in addition to competitive product, we started also understanding that people have, a lot of coping strategies beyond, the use of the tools, which is important to know. People are very resilient or very creative, and they will find ways to do something. So you need to be aware of this, because they will always compare if it's worth, getting rid of a habit, a routine, compared to like the adoption of a new tool. So to give you an example of coping strategies, we realized that for like a very common example, like watching TV, people would just sit very close to the TV rather than using any tool, just because it's just easy, right? It's just easy. You don't have to think about charging a tool. Obviously, there are also some downside, because some people, especially people in families, were telling us, I can't watch TV with my family because I'm just blocking the view for everyone else. So there are pros and cons with those coping strategies, but it's very important to know about them, because they will be also competing with the product or the idea that you want to develop. So from the early days of market research, we gathered a lot of insights of people's challenges and habits, and this really helped to categorize the use cases that were basically the most painful, the most difficult to do with existing tools and coping strategies. And that was the baseline of the requirements for our product. So at that stage, we knew that we needed to develop a wearable sight enhancement and magnification aid, and we move away from the translating visual into audio in real time. The second very important aspect for designing this inclusive product was about the product development, the then selection of the hardware that we needed in order to do in order to enhance people's vision. So we needed to find something that people could wear very close to their eyes, and that had a screen to do all the image processing, the image processing techniques. But very quickly, we were also faced by a lot of different trade-offs. So to give you an example with the hardware, so we looked into smart glasses and VR headsets, and we wanted to use smart glasses. Why? Because it looks more, it's more discreet, it looks a bit more normal compared to the VR headset. But at the end of the day, at that time in 2016 already, but at that time, the smart glasses, the field of vision that they were offering were very limited. So you had maximum maybe 40% field of vision, while the VR headset were giving like 100%, 100% field of vision. So the trade-off here was appearance versus performance, because when you have 100% field of vision, then obviously you have the more picture you have, you can zoom further. So there was just no possible comparison. So we moved away from the smart glasses to work on VR headsets. In terms of VR headsets, we also took the decision that we were using existing ones, because at that time we were also a bit more limited in terms of budget, but the point was also not to reinvent the wheel. There were a lot of different VR headsets available already on the market. So it was more interesting to try to improve or, work on those rather than starting from scratch. Even if obviously it brings some, frustration working on existing hardware. So one of the other very important thing, and it's very related to the title of this webinar, is about it's about the digital divide, because most of the users, the end users for us, are people over a certain age. So people that will start losing their vision. So 50% of the users that we had starting were over 65-year-olds. So for us, it was crucial to make sure that all those people, all our users could use the device. And we worked a lot on the interface. So a very important aspect for the trade-off is in terms of the interface. It's a all time you need to find this balance between how simple something is, especially for the elderly. So in that case, we had users, you can see on those pictures, they are over 80-year-olds, right? It's not just, early retirement and, and still a bit potentially techie, but we were really targeting any person with silos. So a lot of people were also in their 80s. And I think the eldest that we had as a user was 96. Anything is possible, but it was definitely challenging. So we had to find this balance between, we need to have something simple that the elderly can use. If the elderly can use it, anyone can use it. And something that has enough features to, enable them to do the activities that they wanted to do. At first, we provided this device for people for home use. So they were using it for activities, very different activities, such as reading, watching TV. So this is what Ivy is doing on this picture. She's watching TV now from her sofa. She doesn't have to sit in front of the TV. And John is at the museum. So, it can be used for a lot of different activities, but it means that then you need different type of features. But again, the design of the user interface started very, we had the different ideas and different iteration phases every time, including the user very early on in the process. And just to give you an idea about one of our ideas, this is, so for the user interface, before deciding to go with a little remote control with, very few number of buttons, we tried head movements. I don't know if some of you tried that. It's not very common. And, at that time we thought the assumption was, okay, we need something that you just wear a headset and then, you don't have to think about holding something. So it would be, the assumption was it would be easier if we have this kind of, audio or head movement as a user interface. But when we started working on the head movement, we realized that it was not really working as planned. But again, here the key was to build, to try something, to build an MVP, to try quickly, and then to and then to fail quickly. So on this picture, you can see the MVP that we've had at the time. So it's just a phone, and then it's added on this kind of 3D printed glasses, just to again validate some of the assumption that people, it works. So it was like, you move your head on the left and it opens the menu, things like that. And we tried with a small group of people. And the two main learnings from those tests are that people felt very aware of, moving their heads in front of others, because it looks very like, a bit like they're crazy people. And two, the movement also needed to be sharp, a certain sharpness. So we had issues with people a certain age because they were not moving their head quickly enough. So anyway, just to show you that in that case, we tried different things because we wanted to validate certain assumptions about how easy, how simple, and the best way to know is really to be able to have this kind of MVP and to try and test and fail fast. Finally, I wanted to discuss about the design in terms of basically, I have a breaking news. It's something that was quite hard on us at the start. But when we developed this product, and we had a lot of great feedback from people, but we had also big issues with our business model. So that was a big realization. Breaking news: a product that works doesn't automatically sell. And maybe this is an obvious thing, but it wasn't for us at that time. So there is a very important element in the design in terms of, you need to make sure that you work on a product that will sell. And this will also input on the design. So for example, in our case, we designed this product initially for home use. And our business model was B2C, so business to consumers. And when we started, we faced a lot of big kind of barriers for growth, such as the lack of funding pathways for people to access this device, or very high customer acquisition costs. So we looked at use cases and at different ways of using our headset to bring more values for other stakeholders that would pay for this. Now, so for the past 2 years, we pivoted on a B2B business model, and we believe that was the right move for us, because we still create a lot of impact, so people can still use our device. We can still work on raising awareness about low vision, and we are also working on something bigger, such as moving the line of accessibility standard, because one of our objectives is to become a new accessibility standard, like audio description is. But it's true that the fact that we conducted so many tests, about usage, about the need finding, comparison studies. We have also clinical trials. It really helped us to back up the new commercial offering. But in order to have this new offering, we had also to improve and adapt our product for the use in live event, because now it's all about, we install and deploy this device, this equipment at live events, so sport events, cultural events, to help people, spectators, visually impaired spectators, to follow the games. And I don't want to tell you more about this, because I think this video will kind of show you a little bit more into the context. But the point here is, to think about how to design also, how the commercial, the business case will also impact on the design, because in this case we have a new version now of the product in order to optimize its use in stadium and at live event in general. So let me just show you what we've been doing.
Listen, there's a good chance somebody's trying to hack your website right now. You got
Elodie, we couldn't hear any more sound.
All right.
Palace Football Club to really...
Hang on, let me just stop sharing and share again. Can you hear it?
Yes.
All right.
But it stopped.
All right. It might just be because I put in full screen.
I'm here at Selhurst Park, home of Crystal Palace Football Club, to really test out some of the new technology that GiveVision are providing to visually impaired fans.
I've been a Crystal Palace fan since 1969, so a long time. I love coming here. I just love it. It's just the atmosphere.
Huge Crystal Palace fan since I was 7. It's the atmosphere, it's being with the Palace family.
I'm registered as blind, so I see about 5% of what the average sighted person will see. And there's always been this debate: do I go to the game and enjoy the atmosphere but not see it, or do I stay at home, miss out on the atmosphere, but actually see what's going on?
I want to be able to see better. I want to be able to see the whole game rather than have the person with me telling me.
Don't always see when things happen, so I do miss that, and I have to ask Lee what's happened or where the ball is. So hopefully I'll be able to see stuff that happens that I usually miss. Oh, nice turn.
I saw so much today that normally I would miss. I saw every single goal, and that's one of the first times in my life I was also able to see decisions like fouls. I was able to look at when VAR was going on. I also got the opportunity to see replays.
It made such a difference to my eyesight, I have to say. I could see so much stuff which I wouldn't normally see. And I can actually see the players, see their faces, see their reactions when they score.
Being able to see a goal is the first time in a long time, so it was good. It makes such a difference, and as a club you incorporate us in so well.
All right. So I just wanted to show you this video. We've been covering quite a few events now in the UK and France. And it's just so much nicer when people share their experience. But the point here was also the work again that we've had to do in order to make it work, from the initial product that we've designed to this very specific use case that we are focusing on now. So as my main takeaways from that that work that we've been doing, designing this low vision wearable for people that have, sight impairments. So it can be, again, we are helping different age group, different symptoms, different profile of people. So my main takeaways for you are that it's obviously it's very important to understand the pain, and most of the time we are very focused on disability as itself and their limitations. But it's as important to understand how people are, are handling things today. So what tools that they use, what coping strategies, because you will be competing against those. The second point will be about the trade-off, because there are lots of them, and that's totally fine, and you need to own them, because that's just normal. And I think it's also very time consuming if you had to, question that your trade-off all the time. In our case, we really much limited the dependencies we had with suppliers, because we are hardware agnostic. So it means that we have this flexibility to change. It means that it might add a bit more work to adapt, but again, it gives us more flexibility in working with more suppliers and more hardware developers. And very important, the point about the business case, to make sure that your design also take that into consideration. What's the best business cases for you to have a commercially viable business? And finally, which is definitely very important when you work in accessibility and disabilities, is when you build a product, it's for most of the time a very special, niche audience. And it means that you will be educating people a lot about that. And it can be seen as a burden, because this is like constant. You have to explain constantly why you're doing this, and I thought that after 10 years of working on this, it would be easier, but it's still the same. I'm not saying that I necessarily see it as a burden, but it is a lot of time that you will need to dedicate to educating people on the problems, because they need to understand the problems to understand why you're here. So that's definitely something to take into account. It could also be included in the design. We haven't really done that, but I think that would be a next step. And so I would love to hear more about your questions. I think I've been definitely quicker than expected. So hopefully you have a lot of questions for me, and we can have a discussion before the end of the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Elodie. It was great presentation.